Fighting Talk back again, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Harry Hardwick following his incredible win against Konmon Deh on the last Cage Warriors the trilogy. Harry, how's things going, mate?
Um, I've eaten a lot and I'm bored, but yeah, things are very good.
I seen your face when I said incredible win. I know we spoke a little bit during the week. I mean, to come through, you had a pretty bad injury very early doors in that fight and managed to negate it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, first round was just going pretty normally. Felt very in control, and then just towards the end of the first round, he lands a left body kick, and I don't know what the fuck it's done, but it's like my intercostal or my rib or something. It was just in like agony for the rest of the fight. So it was like every time I would crunch down, there'd be like a sharp shooting pain. But I thought it's best that I like try and sort of shoot on him and tie him up and put him in the clinch, because at least then I'm in control of when the pain happens and stuff, as opposed to like letting him hit it again. Because I was just breaking it for the rest of the fight if he hit the same spot, because it wasn't fun. It was very painful. It like made breathing a bit of a struggle. But yeah, not not great. But then watching it back, to me at the time it was like, oh god, this is death. This is the worst thing ever. But then just watching it back, it just looked like a pretty routine, 30-26 shutout. Uh, but yeah, it felt a lot worse than it actually looked watching it. But it was pretty rough.
How much did that sort of make you change your game plan during the fight? Because obviously, I'm presuming you went in there with something in mind. Then, when you're so damaged to one side, how much did that affect you, and how much did you have to sort of bring your fight IQ into that to negate the damage?
It affected it a fair bit because it made me. I had to start backing off a lot more on the feet, and then it was like in grappling exchanges, I was kind of deliberately like, okay, I'm gonna kind of stall a little bit in the grappling exchanges. Like it made me. I didn't want to like advance too quickly. It was just I had to be way slower. It's like, right, I've got him in the clinch. I'll put him on the fence. I'll hold him on the fence for a bit. Then I'll go for a takedown. If the takedown doesn't work, I'll just go right back up to the fence. And I couldn't push. It didn't feel like after that point I could push, because we really wanted to like get him tired and then push the pace, because I'm sort of known for in fights it just starts at a million miles an hour. But I didn't want to do that this time anyway. But wanted to start, get him tired, and then go a million miles an hour. So I don't have like any kind of dip later on. It's like, all right, I've got him tired, then I go, and then and then hopefully get the finish. But I just couldn't push or like exert myself anymore. So it was kind of like, right, I've just got to win these exchanges, win these moments, win these minutes, put them on the clock. And I had to sort of be very wary of him hitting me in around the liver at any point, because it was very painful. Like I was convinced something was broken, but the doctor did a pretty thorough job checking afterwards, and it's probably just like my intercostal has done something.
For I guess those who don't know, because I know I had to Google it as well, the intercostal. Can you sort of explain what sort of injury that is for people who might not know?
Uh, it's the muscle between your ribs, and sometimes it gets injured and it's bad. Uh, that's about as thorough an explanation I can give. I'm not really like book smart on this kind of thing.
And I mean, in terms of an opponent, Konmon Deh is certainly not the type of an opponent you want to be trying to do 15 minutes with some injury. What did you make his performance that night? Did he bring the fight you were expecting from him?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be tough, and I knew it was going to be tricky. Um, like he's took Mason Jones the distance, took Vajani the distance. I knew it was going to be a tricky one. I really did want to finish him, but it was just, I don't know, I couldn't push any further once the injury happened. But yeah, just as a person, he just seems like nonplussed person. Like you just see him around the hotel, and you just like completely not asked by anything. It's like I don't think there's any. You couldn't intimidate him. You couldn't do it. He was just sort of like in his own little zone. Um, but yeah, they had like just weird stuff. Like I just couldn't hit him clean. It was like the few times where I managed to actually land a shot on his chin, it was like surprising. He was just very good at like getting his hands in the way if he needed to, getting his forehead in. The shots would kind of deflect off with the body shots and the knees and stuff. He would kind of just get his elbow in the way a little bit. It was all these like little veteran tricks. Very just tough, awkward guy to fight. Very tough.
You mentioned, of course, a couple of the names that, or the only losses on his record, and Jack Shaw, of course, as well. Is it nice for you in a way to have that as almost like a marking stick of where you're at, for you to be beating the guy that the likes of now Mason Jones in the UFC, Jack Shaw in the UFC, have also been in there and beat?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm that standard anyway. It's good to have proven it a little bit more again. But it's like I know I'm not standard. I know George is that standard. We're on our way there. I don't know. I just really like to finish him. Same with Ndoye as well, because like Ndoye hadn't been finished. But yeah, just got these 15 minutes in with both of them. So I don't know. It's good in the sense that I've fought that level of competition. But I would have liked to have finished both of them. But it was just very, very different fights. You know, tough for different reasons. But yeah. So
You mentioned obviously it's two big names that you've taken out now. Where do you sort of see these wins putting you in that featherweight division? Because at the top at the minute, we've got the interim belt, we've got obviously Jordan with the full belt. Where do you see yourself in that division? And I guess what do you see next for you?
So the logjam's clearing up a little bit. So obviously Hughes and Vucenic are going to fight. I've no idea when that's going to be. I know that the next Cage Warriors UK events are in December. Hughes just had a really hard fight, you know, like he was a bit lumped up when we saw him on Saturday, and so I'm not sure if he'll want to jump straight back in there. He might, you know, you never know. Which will be a little, you know, just that'll be a bit of a longer period of log jamming. I see myself sort of ready to swoop in whenever the logjam clears. I feel like if Hughes beats Vucenic, I probably won't end up fighting Hughes because I just feel like he'll get snapped up. Like I feel like the kind of like publicity he's drawn for himself. Like I'd like to fight Hughes. I think it'd be a good fight, but I just think if he gets by Vucenic and he gets the like non-interim belt, I don't think he'll be staying in Cage Warriors. I think he'll get snapped up. I'm not as sure with Vucenic. They might snap him up, they might not. You never know. Depends on how the fight goes. But it just feels like that's got to clear itself, and then I'm just gonna swoop in, get the belt, and then George will probably have the belt by that point because the lightweight division's way more open and makes far more sense. In the meantime, I'm just gonna get some good fights. Might try and like blag Graham into giving me a fight in San Diego when their borders open up, because that would be nice. But yeah, just got to keep fighting people. Depending on how my rib is, I would like another fight this year, but I've just got to see how this recovers, because it would be good to get the 4 fights in. But you know, I'm already 3-0 this year, which is nice. Most pro fights I've had in a year MMA has been 2, so I've already beat that record, and they've all been wins. So I'm happy. Yes, I'm happy.
Of course, your younger brother George, you mentioned there as well, on the same show as you that night. It was a switch around. He was further up the card than you this time, and like on that last Cage Warriors show. What do you make of George's performance? I mean, another win, and I mean, something that moves him for me, I think, very, very close to that title shot.
Yeah, like I knew he was going to kill that guy. Like I knew it would be a dominant and decisive fight. But what's very good is that George still has a load of stuff in his back pocket that he hasn't shown yet. Like that fight was very much just kind of the Truman fight again, but it started a bit quicker. He hasn't had to show anything new, which is good. He's got tons of stuff in his back pocket. Like I kind of had to go into the toolkit a little bit and show, oh, I'm good off my back foot as well as I am off my front foot and that kind of thing in my fight. A bit annoying. But no, George hasn't had to show any of some of the other stuff that he's good at. A lot of the stuff that we're working on, he didn't even need to do. There was loads of stuff that we worked on loads for that fight, but it didn't even need to come out. So yeah, it was a good performance. Good, solid win. He's definitely within reach of the belt, because like the lightweight division is far more open. I think I'm not sure if but I think it's going to be Ben Lactar versus McColgan. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure.
So
But
well,
because
there's the title for the video. That's
I think, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I do know. Yeah. So hopefully Graham and Ian don't watch this. Uh, but I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I think that was something that was planned, and because they had a draw before, so and Ben Lactar's on a good streak, so that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so we'll see. George just wants to keep fighting. George hasn't got any injuries, so he's really wanting to get on the December show. So it's like title or not, he'll fight. He doesn't care. So yeah.
Around that top of the division, I know George is still not inexperienced by any stretch, but relatively compared to the likes of Paul Redmond, who of course is also in that Cage Warriors lightweight division. A match like that, do you think would be something that maybe would be coming too soon for George and would be something he looked at later? Or if the name was given to him, was he very much a type to go, yes, I'll fight him no matter what?
Yeah, we'll fight him. Like, yeah, why the fuck not? It's not like, because he's only got the one loss in his record as well, so it's not like another loss might like spoil his record, if you get me. So there's just no point in being picky or choosy with George at all. Like, he's still pretty young. He's only got the one loss in his record. He's got enough wins on the record as well, where that loss looks like insignificant. Like, there'd be no point sort of managing him or being careful with him like that. Just, yeah, make him fight Paul Redmond, and I think he beat Paul Redmond up.
If we go back to the night itself, fans were back in for the first time. Was that been the first time in your Cage Warrior sort of tenure? I know there was a few in on that last show, but
it's the first time I've fought in front of fans since I fought Nathan Rose in 2019. So yeah, a very long time since fans. What was what?
No, sorry, I was going to say, what was that like for you? Because there's been some fighters that have said they prefer it without fans. Some have said that they really thrive off that atmosphere. Where were you at with it?
It was incredibly strange because of like how the York Hall is. I was walking out, and then I looked and I saw someone thing. I was like, "Oh, is that CJ?" And then it's like I look along and I couldn't find any the other people who'd come to see me. But then I was like, there was a female voice going, "Go on, Harry!" during the fight, and I was thinking, that's not George's girlfriend. That doesn't sound like George's girlfriend. That can't. Who would be there? And it was like I sort of noticed them between rounds, and I looked up at them, sort of like, look funny, like who are you? It was Kieran Lister's family, but I didn't know who they were. So I was like, even during the fight, I was like, who's that? I didn't sell this many tickets. I think I noticed George's girlfriend sort of either during the fight or between rounds or some points about. It's very, because like just the way the York Hall is, it's like it's very personal and like closed in. You can not only notice the crowd, you can like pick people out. It's weird. It's not like when I fought in Wembley, it's, they darken it out and you can't see anything and you don't know where anyone is, and it's just like this. I think it'd be even like bigger stadiums, any kind of like stadium or arena, where it's just like the crowd is just this black mass around the cage. It's very different in the York Hall. It's like it's very personal. It's like you can see people, you can pick them out, you can hear people very clearly. Everyone's within spitting distance. That's what I was describing the York Hall to my parents. Everyone's within spitting distance with each other.
I was just thinking as well, just going back to something we mentioned before, obviously Joe McColgan has that lightweight strap. If Paul Hughes beats Jordan Vucenic and unifies the division, he'll obviously have the featherweight title. You two are very close to that. Could we potentially see a Hardwick brothers against teammates in McColgan and Hughes?
It would be a Fight Academy versus Fight Academy thing, wouldn't it? Fight Academy Ireland versus Middlesbrough Fight Academy. Yeah, that's a potential thing. Again, I think Paul Hughes has done a good enough job of marketing himself where I don't think he'll need to defend that belt if he gets it. Like, I would, I'd like to fight him. That would be a cool thing, but being realistic about it, I really don't feel like he'd have to defend. Like, I got a notification about a BBC article saying that Paul Hughes win, and I'm like, no, that is unusual. So I feel like he's created a little bit of a storm there. But yeah, that would be interesting. I think as well because it's like stylistically, I'm a bit like McColgan and George is a bit more like Hughes, and like vice versa for them. So like they'd be like, they'd just be like, I'm trying to find a way to describe it. Do you know like when Lobov would fight a southpaw, like a rangy southpaw, and you'd have all these like you'd have this deep bag of tricks against that particular skill set because of how much he'd sparred McGregor.
Yeah.
I think like a similar thing like that would happen if we were to fight them, if you get me. But yeah, I like as much as I would like that fight, I don't think he's staying around. I really don't. There'd be no point.
You and George now as well, you're both on multi-fights now with Cage Warriors. I know when you first signed, we weren't too sure contractually where it was at, but it certainly looks like you're there for the long run now. How's it been with Cage Warriors compared to some other promotions you may have worked with? And why ultimately did you choose to go with Cage Warriors?
The main reason we went with Cage Warriors, it's not this, oh, I need to get to the UFC or all this kind of stuff. It's because they've got like a schedule and you can go, I want to fight then, and then. And they'll give you fights and they'll put fights on consistently. So there's no fucking about, hanging around in limbo. Like I remember after the Smullen fight, it was like I wanted another fight, but there was nothing, there was no news of anything, and it was just months of just like, oh, I lost my last fight. I need another fight. I need another fight. There's no fights. I was looking for fights, and then ended up having to take some random short notice fight in Croatia where I lost a fuckload of money like doing it. But with Cage Warriors, it's not like you can just say, oh, like after the last trilogy, it was like the next one's at the end of September, or start of October. We don't know yet, but do you want to be on that? And we're like, yes. And then we had someone to prepare. We didn't have opponents for most of the time, but we had someone to prepare for. And then we were vaguely aware leading into this one that the next one would be in December. And then we're vaguely aware that there'll be something early next year. And then it's just this consistency of being able to get fights consistently. Because like my career has been dead inconsistent anyway. It's like I've averaged like 1 or 2 fights a year, which is shite. Like I want to fight regularly. Like if I could get 4 in this year, that'd be mint. If I can get 4 in next year, or that'd be mint. 5, whatever. I just want fucking fights.
The preparation side of things, you and George both took on the road as well with you this time round. Of course, traveling up to Scotland, seeing Chris Duncan, Robert Whiteford, and dropping down to Next Gen, training the likes of Paddy Pimblett, Molly McCann. If we go with Chris Duncan first, I mean, it's fantastic to see that he has now been rematched for Dana White Contender Series, which will be on the 12th of October. What was the training experience like up there with him? And I mean, what can fans expect to see who maybe haven't seen him perform before?
See, I didn't actually do any rounds with Chris Duncan this time. It was like we were up there and then we went to his gym and sort of like he got partnered up with George because they were on the similar way. And then I got partnered up with Whiteford. And I was and I was a bit like, I'm friends with Fisher. This is a bit weird. I'll just stay as neutral as I can. And I just did my own thing. Like I was southpaw for a fair bit. I was just whatever. I mean, I've got like a tiny attention span with how I stand anyway. So it's like some seconds I'll be in a karate stance, and some seconds I'll be in a boxing stance, then I'll be in a Thai stance, then I'll be southpaw, then I'll be square, then I'll be bladed. But I was just doing my usual erratic stuff. But as far as Chris Duncan goes, I'm so buzzing that they've got him a fight. A better opponent, to be fair, than the guy who was fighting. The guy who was fighting was just a bit of a I don't know, a bit of a bitch, really. Like the guy who was initially matched up against, all his wins were against like 0-1, 0-0, 0-2, and he'd got to like 7-0, 8-0, and earned this opportunity and Contender Series. It didn't sit right with me, and it didn't sit right with Chris, who's fought some really good people. But it was just like, fuck it, you'll smash fuck out of him, and then he'll get his UFC contract. But that guy had a bad belly and fannied out, and then Chris, so he made weight for that one, and then he was ready to make weight. So he made weight the Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was ready to make weight again on Friday that week. There's a last minute step in, and now he's going to make weight again on the 12th. Is it? He's fighting
the 11th.
The 13th.
His fight's the 12th, I think.
So he's going to make the weight again on the 10th. So it's just like he's really being rewarded for his discipline here as well. Like, he's a really disciplined guy. Like, that is one thing that Chris Duncan is. He's a bit of a fucking robot, really. Like, he is just like disciplined. He's on point. He's disciplined. Like, we were talking to Ross Houston when we were up in Scotland at the fight show that we were at, and Ross Houston was saying, he just doesn't have off days. It's like he's just so like consistently there the whole time, and it's just how he is. So it's good to see him getting rewarded for that. I think his opponent, even though his opponent's record's not as good as the other guy, this guy's 4-1, fought better people, a team alpha male guy, probably a much better opponent. You'll get a much better fight out of it. I still think Chris Duncan will boot him in his face, but I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's got this opportunity. I hope it really pays off for him.
And then if we look as well, I know we're on about discipline. Of course, he's in the gym all the time, but his love of fast food gets a million views on YouTube with MMA on point. Paddy the Baddy. I mean, what was that training experience like down there? And how nice was it for you to see him getting that first win in the UFC?
That came about because Paul Rimmer and Peter Irving, like, they go way back. So it was just Paul messaged Pete about us two coming to spar Paddy, getting ready for the UFC fight. We did only go for like a day and a half because they wanted us to go for a bit more, but it was like Michael Stewart and Ed Miliband were fighting, so it was like we didn't want to abandon them. Michael Stewart was going to come with us to Liverpool, but then his leave at work got cancelled, which was a bit crap. But yeah, we went on the Monday, did the pro session, and like very good, very interesting structure. I was like, they managed to get a lot of different things done, but still done well, if you get me. But it was like quite an interesting structure on the pro session. There's a jiu-jitsu session on the Monday night, and then went to Casa Italia, which is by all their accounts the best Italian restaurant in Liverpool, and it was amazing. Like, the garlic bread there, like I don't know how you can make just garlic bread that much nicer than all other garlic bread, but they did. It's magic. Casa Italia is basically why Paddy looks like he does now. Like he was saying to us, so they do these like baked pasta dishes where it's like in this like ceramic pot, and they put cheese on the top and they bake it. So you'll get a garlic bread, and then you'll get like, I think, another garlic bread that he'll save for when he's finished to like wipe up the inside of the pot, and then he'll have a pizza. But yeah, you can put some food away. But yeah, then we sparred on the Tuesday morning, which was pretty rough, really, because it was like it was the harder the big glove sparring, and it was like I thought George would be doing well with Paddy just because of them being in the same weight class, but I ended up doing rounds 1, 3, and 5 with Paddy, and then on my rounds in between, I had Liam Malloy, who fought on Cage Warriors at the weekend, and Adam Wilson, who fought on Cage Warriors at the weekend, and it's like the results they got at the weekend don't really do justice to how good they were, because it was like I was really putting my effort in the Paddy rounds, and then I was like, oh, I'm not getting a rest in between these, so it was like I was just really hard round with some like younger, hungrier killers who probably thought, oh, well, it's like pretty natural. It's like, oh, it's a guy who's visiting the gym and they've got a bit of a name. I've got to sort of like prove myself a little bit. So I had like really hard rounds there, and I didn't get a rest. And then I was fucked. And I had a shower and pretty much drove straight home. And probably a bit too fatigued to drive, but yeah.
From that traveling as well, because I know you do coach as well yourself, what do you take away from going to these different gyms and little things that you pick up, and how do you find that helps you develop your sort of coaching technique?
It's just you sort of like you pick things up, you see things. I mean, I must admit, I taught so it was like we did the jiu-jitsu session there on the Monday night, and then the Tuesday night's the jiu-jitsu session at our gym. It's like I drove home and then got something to eat. And then when I went to the gym, I just taught what I got taught the night before. I was like half asleep. I was really sleep deprived because Paddy put us up in it was a really nice apartment, but it was like right in the middle of like the sesh district of Liverpool. And there was some obnoxious cock end doing covers of songs in some pub. And he was doing the same three chords. Like the music he was playing on his guitar didn't change, but he just was like, "And do the walk of life." And then he would just move on to another song, and it would be like, and it'd be the same tune, but he was just sort of going, and it was that until about like 2 a.m. So I didn't really get any sleep while I was there. But yeah, you can take a lot from other coaches. I like watching things on YouTube. I like watching lots of videos of people training. Yeah, it's like you try and take bits and bobs from them, but you don't like. It's not like you can't just see how someone else does things and then just completely reinvent the way you do things based on because I don't know you're like you know you've got your own stuff and you're like so you can't like just see oh well that's how they structure things so that's how we're going to structure things. It's that can cause problems and be a bit problematic. But yeah, yeah, I like to exactly yeah.
Finally, then, Harry, if let's say injury dependent, you can make a run out again once more this year. If we say 6 months down the line, where can we expect to see you and George?
Belts. Maybe beyond, maybe just blagging fights in San Diego and getting free holidays out of it. Who knows? Who knows? But belts almost certainly. Because it'll be good to do the old brothers champ thing. Good to just swoop in and get there before the fig lax. But also like Abdul was Cage Warriors champ way before they even had belts. It's a little glass plaque in the gym. I don't know. I put a picture of it before, but we'd have to do a picture of it was like me and George with our belts and Abdul just holding the little glass plaque that he got. I think it's like March 2003 or 2002 on it. But yeah, we'll have to get a little picture like that. But belts, hopefully a lot more fights. Hopefully blag the free San Diego holiday out of it. And yeah, just happy as Larry.
Would that be quite nice, I guess, then for MFA, Middlesbrough Fight Academy, of course, your gym, to have that lineage with Cage Warriors from Abdul Muhammad having the plate, essentially, isn't it? It's a trophy, to you two having the belt.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be a weird thing where we've got 3 pro fighters in the gym and 2 of them are world champs. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, maybe use the Cage Warriors connections to get Michael a fight. He was a bit unfortunate in his pro debut. I think he's probably a featherweight, like for pro standards. We got him a lightweight fight just because it was like, that's what we did at amateur. But I think for professional, I think maybe featherweight just because he was a bit undersized. Like we were in the same warm up room as Mark Ewan, and we were like, yeah, fuck. It's probably not the right weight class, but yeah, hopefully maybe get some fights on Cage Warriors or something like that. It's just good to just keep the gym trucking along, make us look nice and legit for some gym down a horrendously dodgy looking alley above a shop with a leaky roof and all the equipment's ancient.
I think we'll leave it at that, Harry. That's perfect. But no, thank you very much for your time tonight, mate.